Hello, Motorada World fans, and welcome to this Talking MotoGP Assen session. We have a lot to talk about because once again, very exciting, very dramatic, but very controversial MotoGP race out in Assen. One of the best places to go. I keep saying this with every single race. One of the best places to go watch and race a motorcycle around the world is Assen. Very historic place. We know that. Called the Cathedral of Speed. Got to have my first taste of Assen last year, and it was spectacular. It was absolutely spectacular. So, yeah, hello and welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. I know we're still going to get a lot of people joining in, and I thank you for still joining in despite being delayed. I mean, this is how things work out. I actually flew to the Netherlands, but on Monday for some business, and I had to fly back yesterday and got delayed and all kinds of things. So yeah, I missed the MotoGP weekend. I flew to the Netherlands on the Monday. So yeah, that's just how things work. Eh? Mike Teal, good evening, Rom. Greeting from myself and grandson Leon Townsend. We both keen to hear your view on the weekend's racing, i.e. the penalties and non-penalties. Yeah, it just seems like week in, week out now after every round, it's the main topic of discussion is race stewards and these ridiculous penalties. John McLaughlin, good evening, Rob, Justin DP, hello, Yella. Rob O.S. Swat, good evening, Rob and everyone. John Fernandez, hi, Rob. How you doing, John? Hope you're keeping well. Hendrik van der Merwe, good evening, Rob. How are you? What a crazy weekend, Hendrik. I'm all good, thank you. And yes, it was indeed a crazy weekend. Mike Teal, how are you, Mike? Hope you and Liam are doing well. I didn't kind of say hello to you there. Michael Elliott, evening, Uncle Rob. But was a bit disappointed with Aleix and Aprilia with how they celebrated their podium when deep down they know it wasn't properly earned on track. Michael, I understand that, and as a Binder fan, I do get, it does rile me up a little bit, but at the same time, it's a podium in a season where they've been struggling. So yeah, that podium was gold for them. So I can understand his reaction. Aleix Spargo, one of the older riders in the paddock at the moment. So yeah, was it unsportsmanlike? Um, in the right place at the right time, Aleix Spargo to take advantage of Brad's miscalculation, shall we call it? So yeah, we'll dive into it. We'll dive into it a little bit more. Just now, Airways English. How's it, guys? How you Airways English? El Camino, how's it, Rob? Jonathan Borg. Jonathan, how are you doing? And thank you so much for all the brilliant information that you've been posting up on your MotoGP News Facebook page. Really is very informative and very up to date and very precise, very accurate. So go check it out there. We do steal a lot of information from Jonathan's page, as I've said before, because he really is a good inside source to have there. Joe Alves, hey bro, how you doing, Joe? Landy, good evening, Uncle Rob. Landy, hope you well. Lofty Pretoria, Jacques Smuts. Jacques, how are you? Ray Hendy, good evening, gentlemen and others. Mark Antel, Alzan Labsha, Robert Ferreira, Ray Kuropis, I hope I said that right, CP Wertz, Damien Muir. Hope the UK is treating you and the family very well. Damien, it is. Thank you very much. Again, the weather's just been... I never, ever thought I'd fly all the way or come live in the UK and complain about the sun. But I did an event out at Ragley Hall for the ABR Festival this past weekend. And yeah, I just got I got sunburnt. I got all kinds of luminous colors. And it's just been so hot here. A little bit cloudy today, which was a little bit of respite, which was great. But yeah, the weather has just been phenomenal here in the UK. It's crazy. Good evening, Rob and everyone else. I hope you are all well. How are you all doing with no MotoGP, Mariska Hutchinson? Yeah, no MotoGP for, what is it, 4 weeks, 3 weeks? When is Silverstone? It's August. No, it's like 6 weeks or something. So yeah, so I can't wait for that. I will be attending the Silverstone MotoGP race. I'm really excited about that. You'll see behind me there, Daniela Petrucci cap and some other things that I will be getting signed this weekend at Donington, because tomorrow I'm driving up to Donington Park for World Superbike action. So yeah, a little bit of racing action for me there. Never been to Donington before, so I'm really excited about that. And I've got an interview a one-on-one interview lined up with Alvaro Bautista tomorrow at the track at 2:15. So looking forward to that. If you've got some questions, let me know, and we'll see if we can squeeze them in. But really looking forward to chatting to the World Superbike champion there. Jean Creel, Anton Smith, Chris Hart, Rob Harpen. Hi, Rob, from a very hot Jersey. Okay, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Jersey, Rob. Devin Deshalen, how's it, Rob? Lots to talk about tonight. Yes, we do. Douglas Twig, hi, Rob, and everyone. A good weekend. Good points and good all round. Vanna van der Spey, Louise, Martinez Lambrechts, Pimpy van der Berg. Hi, Rob. Hi, Rob. What are we going to do with these Blairy Ducatis? So, Vimpy, it's a big talking point, and again, I go back to the same argument that people give Ducati grief about having all these bikes on the grid when why not? People want their bikes. Let's not forget the likes of VR46 and Grassini, lease the bikes from them, though they are the bikes that they want to run. They don't want to run Yamahas and Hondas and everything else. They want to run Ducatis. So Ducati are just fulfilling the order form, basically. So until it becomes the bike not to beat, teams are going to keep leasing them, and we're going to keep seeing more Ducatis on the grid. So is it Ducati's fault that they've got the best bike? No. Is it Ducati's fault that they've got the best bike that everyone wants to lease? No. It's up to Honda and Ducati, certainly, to produce better machinery and put more bikes on the grid. And Ace of Spades makes a very valid point here as my phone starts beeping, but it's all the way down there. It doesn't matter. Ace of Spades, Lekker, how's it, Rob? Concessions. So coming out of the MotoGP weekend, there's been lots of reports that Dorna have now gone to the likes of Aprilia, KTM, and Ducati and asked them for permission to give Honda and Yamaha concessions. Now, this is a tough one to call because listen, Honda and Yamaha need as much help as they can get at the moment. I've said the last couple of weeks that they need time. What they need is time, and they're just not getting it in race weekends. And you're not going to get it in race weekends. MotoGP is just too demanding now. With concessions, they certainly will get a little bit of help to develop their bikes. But on one hand, I think give it to them because I want to see Yamaha and Honda competing at the front. Certainly, I want to see a Fabio Quartararo, a Franco Morbidelli, a Marc Marquez, and Alex Rins and a Jean Mir, battling up with Bagnaia, and it'll make the racing more exciting. So, yes, give it to them. I want them to be up there. I want them to improve their package so we can have Ducati, Aprilia, KTM, Honda, Yamaha all battling at the front. Just mixing it up. That'll solve this Ducati crisis in many ways. But on the other hand, I look at it and I go, well, Yamaha have invested nothing. They've put 2 bikes on the grid this year, no more. So why should they deserve concessions if they're not fully committed to it? And your Honda, yes, okay, they've got, they're supposed to have 4 bikes on the grid every single weekend, although most weekends it's Paul Taka Nakagami on his lonesome, although they had Stefan Bradl with him. And I must just before we carry on, I must give a special shout out to Taka Nakagami because with everything that's going on at Honda, with all the attention surrounding Marc Marquez and Alex Rins in hospital and Joan Mir also, not at the races and, injuries and talking about not coming back to Honda, Taka Nakagami just sucks it up and he gets on with the job and he finishes races and he does a fantastic job. So Taka Nakagami, I salute you. I think you're doing a fantastic job and doesn't quite get the credit that he deserves, I think, because we all know the problems with Honda. It's the worst bike to be on, and it's putting all these riders in hospital and that. And there's Taka Nakagami just, doing the right thing and finishing races and getting data because, you're not going to get data lying on the floor. But Taka Nakagami, yeah, very professional, very, very, very professional from Taka Nakagami. So anyway, back to the concessions. I don't know. It's, I look at it as a teacher gives all the kids homework. Ducati, KTM, Aprilia go home, do that homework, work hard at doing their homework, come back to class and show that homework and then get rewarded for it. While the Hondas and Yamahas just aren't doing the homework and now, are wanting special treatment for this homework. So it's I look at it from both ways, and it's a hard one to judge whether Ducati and KTM. I think KTM. I don't think KTM will be very forthcoming in terms of helping Honda with concessions because of their rivalry and everything that they've got. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's not Ducati's or KTM or Aprilia's fault that Honda and Yamaha are where they are. It's their own fault. I also saw Gigi Dell'Igna talking about, Honda and Yamaha have put themselves here. They decided to follow the path of Marc Marquez in case of Honda and Fabio Quartararo and Yamaha. They went that direct route. They went the one rider. We're going to focus on one rider route, and look where it's got them. If anything, I'm a big Marc Marquez fan, but for goodness sake, this is getting out of hand now. With the mistakes that the guy's making, running into the back of Bastianini, looking for toes. He's just this hazard out on the racetrack now, and it's because he's desperate. He's so desperate for things to happen that he looks like this desperate rider, and he's crashing, and it's just not a good advert for Marc Marquez or for Honda. It's really just so bad. But Yamaha and Honda have done it to themselves because they went this direct route, and if anything, Marc Marquez has proven that he can't develop a motorbike. He can develop a motorbike that puts up with his riding style, and he can get the best out of it and win races. But is it a good motorbike? Well, clearly not. Those years of Marc Marquez winning was just literally that, Marc Marquez winning, and not necessarily this great Honda package that we were all sold, this Repsol Honda, because it's clearly not. And Mark's, yes, he's crashed and he's missed a couple of races and that, but he's spent a bit of time on the package this year, and he had a little bit of time on it last year, and it hasn't got any better. So is Marc Marquez a rider you want to put all your eggs in one basket to kind of rely on for development? I don't think so. I said it when Alex Rins won at the Kota round. For the whole Honda project, they've got to focus on an Alex Rins rather, because he did a great job at Suzuki. He's got more of an adaptable riding style. He could create a bike that could work for the bigger picture. Whereas Marc Marquez and his Honda is very direct and went very one-sided. So it's sad to say, but. And I've always, and I will always come to Marc Marquez's defense, but it's getting harder and harder to defend Marc Marquez because he's looking like this desperate guy making rookie errors out on track and riding around. Watching him in the practice sessions and the qualifying sessions at Assen, you wouldn't think that was an 8-time or an 8-time world champion riding around. It was this guy just doing laps. Yes, and I know he was injured and the ribs and everything, but it's just so sad. And then the running into Bastianini is just, oh man, it's like I said, it's horrible seeing Marc Marquez like that. Love him or hate him, I don't want to see Marc Marquez riding around like that. I want to see a competitive Marc Marquez on a Honda. I want to see a competitive Honda. I want to see a competitive Yamaha challenging Ducatis. I don't want to see what's happening with them. Fabio Quartararo, great job in the sprint race on the podium. He wasn't very happy because he knows the podium was kind of gifted to him by Brad's error, which we'll get into just now. But then the same problems were highlighted in race 2. Got a bad start, and when he gets a bad start and he's kind of he can't overtake. He can't do anything. When he got a good start in the sprint race and he was on Brad, fine, he can trail and he can match the pace of the leading riders, but that's all he can do. He can't get himself into a position to pass. Main race, got a bad start, and that's it. Fabio Quartararo and the Yamaha just cannot pass or cannot make progress, and it's a big problem. And then he crashes out trying to do something on the Yamaha. Franco Morbidelli has just given up. We know that. I've spoken about it a couple of times now. Franco's given up on that. He's circulating to finish races and talking. He's got contract talks going on. Speaking about Franco Morbidelli and contract talks, before I scroll into the comments, I'll catch up with some comments. There's now talk of him potentially going alongside Alex Marquez in that Cressini Ducati team. So I know Jonathan Borg or Stephen Berry or Sven could maybe comment on that. Or there's a lot of you that are actually really clued up when it comes to this sort of thing. Is it an option? I don't think so. This is I don't know. I still think um, what's his name? Tony Arbolino from Moto2 is the most likely option to go there. Italian rider, Grassini team. I think it'll be a good fit there for him. Franco Morbidelli, will he fit into there? Maybe. Listen, maybe. I still think Franco Morbidelli's best option is a VR46 Ducati spot. That's if Bezzecchi moves. Bezzecchi's just doing phenomenal things. Hats off again to him. Kind of said at the beginning of the year, can Bezzecchi kind of keep this consistency going? And he's right in the mix there, week in, week out. A brilliant sprint race when he dominated there. Brilliant ride in the main race on Sunday. I loved his comments afterwards where if he took the soft tire, he would have effed Bagnaia up. I love Bezzecchi's riding style. He's got that Marco Simoncelli to him with some of his moves and, his persona and the hair. He's very much his own personality, is Marco Bezzecchi. But yeah, he's doing a phenomenal job, and he certainly deserves, a better ride. His Pramac Racing the better ride compared to VR46. He seems like he's doing a fantastic job there. A nice little homely environment for him, with people around him that he knows, that he's comfortable with. Does he need to move from that? But there's talk of him going to the Pramac, and if that move happens, then Franco, I think, will fit in there. Luca Marini's been a little bit disappointing. We know he's got these spikes of good qualifying and lap times and that, but he doesn't seem to be able to pull the results, and certainly not doing what his teammates doing. And he's on a new machinery. So how long will Luca Marini keep a very, very popular and in demand seat when there's other riders that could potentially do more? We'll have to wait and see. Zarco, not the greatest weekend for Zarco. Sprint race not quite there. Got taken out by the unfortunate crash of Fabio Quartararo. What lies ahead for him. Talks that he will go to World Superbikes alongside Alvaro Batista, although there's also talks DJ Antonio is going there and Zarco's going to stay on as a test rider. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens. But the rumor mill is certainly in full force in MotoGP at the moment. But yeah, to finish off the Yamaha and Honda concessions, my heart or my mind says yes to try and get them back up to pace to make MotoGP even more exciting. But my heart maybe says, well, no, because have they invested enough in it to warrant it? Maybe Honda, yes, certainly not Yamaha for me. To have two bikes on the grid from Yamaha, that they just haven't done enough for me. So I would say no. Do it the old school way and work hard. Although KTM and Aprilia got to where they are through concessions. So anyway, I'm going to catch up on some comments here, and I'm sure everyone's commented to about the concessions and everything else. Mariska, to be fair, Fabio did say he felt sorry for Brad, and it's happened to him before, so he knows it sucks. Yeah, listen, we learned two things about our beautiful Brad Binder this weekend. One is that he's colorblind. He can't tell the difference between red and white painted lines and black tar to a green strip. And second is he can only count up to 8, because turn 8 is it 8? I think it's 8. Yeah, where he just kept getting. I mean, how the hell does it happen? Last lap in both races. You can't write that. You can't write that. But I watched it over and over again, and Brad had a very specific line there. So a lot of guys ran it in fast and drove out and kind of pulled it back and then straight line to the next corner, whereas Brad hugged it tight and straight lined it a lot more. And if as in that corner it goes like that, but then it does, the curb does close in. So a lot of riders were doing that, whereas Brad, sounds funny, but when I play the MotoGP game, it's the same kind of thing I do. Hug the curb and then straight line it, to kind of curb to curb kind of thing, shorten the track as much as possible. So instead of doing this, he was like literally just direct and straight lining it. And most of the time getting it right. Just when it counted on the last lap of both races, and it was millimeters. And you watch, okay, the sprint race one, I don't know, that looked tight. But again, what pisses me off, what absolutely pisses me off is there's just no clarity on it. So yeah, they show us these replays of, you know, bad kind of, but again, race stewards need to come out afterwards, and there needs to be a debrief with the race stewards. Right, this happened in this race. Explain how you got to that decision. Well, this is why, and the sense on the green thing got activated, which means Brad did go. We've analysed that, and he was 0.001 of a millimeter over. You know, then you can justify it. But what pisses me off with the sprint race is Brad gets, you know, exceeding track limits warning after like 2 laps. They don't show you that. They don't show you, you know, I don't know. Maybe they did and I missed it. Comment on the side, but I didn't. I watched it a couple of times. I didn't see Brad exceeding track limits before that to warrant get. I didn't see any of that. Okay, listen, it was on the last lap, so either way he was going to get a penalty, because if on the last lap, if you exceed track limits, you're going to get the penalty. But again, is it, you know, one position, 3 seconds, and there's just no clarity around it all. Jorge Martin, yes, he exceeded track limits a lot worse than Brad, and the rule book says, you know, 3 second penalty. He was miles ahead, so effectively there's no penalty for him. So I understand that. And, you know, Brad in Austria all those years ago in the rain, he exceeded the track limits on the last lap coming to the line, and he got his 3 second penalty, but he won it because, you know, he was more than 3 seconds ahead. So I understand that, but just give more clarity on it all. Show us. We want to know all the information that you used to make that decision. And if you start doing that, we'll understand it more and we'll be more forgiving. But at the moment, we just absolutely hate you, race stewards, because there's no clarity on it all. You're not telling us enough. Us as fans, us as media, you're not telling us enough. And it's very, very frustrating. Then Pedro Acosta, yeah, again, I would love to put a microphone in Freddie Spencer or the other 2 guys or whoever after the race and say, so right, hang on, how does this work now? How does this effing work? Because Pedro Acosta, clear as day, you know, even they go to his team after they show the replay, and the team are like, oh God, you know, what is this kid doing? It's stupid. He's gone over the inside line, you know, and there's no penalty. Okay, so race stewards, how do you justify this? How do you justify this? Because anyone else and everyone else that has done it in the past has got a repeat penalty for an irregular long lap penalty, or invalid or incomplete long lap penalty. Pedro Costa goes and does it, and nothing happens. I just don't get it. So, race stewards, if you are going to continue, and unfortunately it looks like they are going to continue with this ridiculous race stewards and all these ridiculous decisions that they make, we need clarity. MotoGP, put a microphone in these guys or girls' faces after the race, and we want answers. That is the only way you're going to clear all this up, and that's the only way we are going to build up any kind of trust or respect for race stewards, because they're not doing themselves any favors. I have no respect for the race stewards. I thought I did after the previous race where they got 1 or 2 decisions right, and I thought brilliant. And there were some racing incidents that they left brilliant. They just fucked it all up again. Excuse my language. Sorry, little young Liam Townsend. I shouldn't use that language, but it just frustrates me to no end. You know, I watch it and I was frustrated for Brad, and I was upset for a fan, and I was also going, but it was hardly rules are rules, okay? And credit to Brad. He came out, he didn't whine, he didn't complain, he took it on the chin, he took it like a man, apologized to his team, did the most professional thing you could do as an athlete in that situation. So well done to Brad. Rules are rules. I understand that, but you've got to give clarity on those rules, please. George Haji, how are you, my buddy? Hope you're doing well. What's this? David, the Iron Brew. Hi, Uncle Rob. Devault Pretorius here. Ignore the YouTube account name. Okay, I will do that. Devault, thank you for joining us. The Spargaro interview was not bad, and he had empathy. Something journalists change the story to get views. So said Douglas. That's what I'm saying. You know, I've been in a lot of those rider debriefs, and then the stories that I read on Facebook afterwards, all the headlines that some of these agencies use, I just go, oh, for God's sake, man, the guy didn't say it like this, or he didn't do it like this. That's why, yeah, the Spargaro, I saw a lot of, you know, a lot of comments about it on Facebook, and it was unprofessional and this and this. Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's racing. Would I have done the same? Yeah, I would have done the same if I'd been gifted a podium like that at the highest level of motorcycle racing in the world. And again, he did say, I've got sympathy for him, but you know what? I'll take it. And as Alicia Spargo and Aprilia were desperate for the results. So yeah, there we go. Landy, did you get the Banyaya helmets? Landy, I did get the Banyaya helmets. One, oh, which way? Which way am I? One is that one there, and I've got another one that's on its way. So for Silverstone, I'm going to get the helmets signed, and hopefully proper visors, or at least worst case dark visors, which I'll ask them to stick up. And then, but yeah, I'm going to have two signed Pekka Bagnaia Championship Suomi replica helmets. So if anyone wants, drop me a private message. I'll let you know the price. It's going to be a big price, honestly. If you think the helmet by itself, I think you paid €1,000 if you could get one, or €890 if you could get one, because there were only 1,163 made worldwide. I've got two. If you want one, let me know. It's first come, first serve. I do have a couple of people asking about it, but no real takers just yet. But we've still got 5 weeks. Mariska Hutchinson, thank you. 5 week break. Airwaves English regarding Brad Binder. I'm just very happy he's now choosing the inside line no matter what in the first few corners. Then after things settle down, he starts pushing again. Yeah, listen, it was brilliant racecraft by Brad. 2 brilliant starts in the sprint and the main race. And he did everything right, Brad, except on the last lap coming out of the turns. And yeah, it's not deserved. I'm not a fan of that kind of penalty. In those situations, I know the rules are there, and I know that. But in those kind of situations, I just think the human, the common sense element needs to come in. They need to analyze it a bit more and say, right, that 1 millimeter that Brad exceeded track limits. Did he gain an advantage? No. Does he deserve a penalty? No. Was the full width of the tire? I still think the full width of the tire needs to be completely across that white line and completely on the green. Not 10%, not 20%, not 100% of the rear tire needs to be on the green to justify a penalty, in my mind. And that's not just because it was Brad Binder at Assen. I just think it's very harsh. The guy's put in his heart and soul for 30 laps. Brad, I mean, was sweating you put in all that effort, and for a podium to be taken away from you with no advantage gained, he gained no advantage by straying over that white line onto the green by 0.00 whatever millimeter. He gained no advantage was gained. Jorge Martin ran on it, and did he gain an advantage? And he went completely over it. No, he didn't. There was no advantage to be gained. You are adding on track by doing that. So you don't gain an advantage. A short track is a fast track. You do not gain advantage by running over there. They painted that for a safety thing so that riders aren't running on the grass. Yes, old school. I agree. Keep it old school. They would have run on the grass, and you just didn't, because there was track and grass. So you didn't even attempt to go over there. Although we did see it back in 500 Grand Prix racing, and that the guys did run on the grass, and that it's racing. And I don't think those penalties were justified. I think they need to analyze it, look at it, and from a racing perspective, and common sense perspective, look at it and go, he gained no advantage. The guy raced his heart out for 30 laps. It was minuscule. It was absolutely nothing. Let it go. But it's not where MotoGP is at the moment. It's so scrutinized, and it's so this and it's so that. It's so rule book at the moment that it's annoying. I think that the best word to use is very annoying. Mark Antel, do you think the concessions need to be revisited with the current system? Honda and Yamaha won't get any for a while. We've kind of spoken about that, and I'm scrolling down the comments. I'm sure I'm going to see some answers there. Jonathan Borg, used to be a grid full of Honda and Yamaha bikes. This is what I'm talking about. People go on about Ducati and Ducati. Back in the past, the Tech 3s and everyone leased Yamahas or Hondas because those were the bikes to be on. Now Ducati has a bike to be on. And Ducati have built all these bikes from scratch, all that money poured in to sell to these teams. It's not Ducati's fault. Ducati have put in the hard work. They've built the best machine that every team wants. and they're going to sell them. It's available. VR46. Rossi is a Yamaha ambassador, and he won't lease Yamahas. I mean, if that's not a sign for you, I don't know what is. Rossi is a Yamaha ambassador, and his team, he spends money to buy Ducatis. I mean, that's all the validation and the proof that you need. It's crazy. Rob Swart, any truth to Bez joining Pramac next season? Also, VR46 taking on Yamaha next season. So maybe Morbidelli moves to VR46 next season. Thoughts? So, Rob Bezzecchi, I think, will join Pramac in place of Zarco. Zarco's done a fantastic job, but he's just not that end result guy. He's going to get consistent, 3 or 4 consistent races, be a good challenger, but overall not going to be a championship contender. Still hasn't picked up a MotoGP win. Bezzecchi in his short time he's looking a much better option, So I think that'll happen to accommodate also Morbidelli to go into the VR46 team, which is not going to be Yamahas next year. We are still only going to see 2 Yamahas on the grid next year, as far as I'm aware. Rossi has said until Yamaha kind of prove that their package is more competitive, they are staying with Ducatis, and there's more proof in the pudding. Robert Swart, why do they need permission? What's the rules? How do you get concessions if others could get it? Why can't they? So I know the concessions were kind of result based, and how many years you've been in MotoGP. Repsol Honda, many world titles. Yamaha 2 seasons ago won the world championship with Fabio Quartararo. So you only get concessions if you hadn't won X amount of races, you hadn't been in the championship for so long, blah 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 blah. And KTM's concessions were gone once Brad and Miguel had won those races, and so X amount of podiums. Concessions gone when Aleix Spargo a couple of years ago started winning and podiums and whatever. Concessions gone. So yeah, there are rules and regulations to it all, and that's why Dorna have got to ask permission, because Yamaha and Honda don't qualify as per the rule book for those concessions. But are in desperate need of the concession. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of sportsmanship in many ways. But again, if KTM and Ducati and them agree on it, I'm all for it. Okay, cool. But then Honda and Yamaha need to take advantage of it, and that's purely because I want to see Yamaha and Honda fighting at the front in the field. If Ducati and KTM and them say no, I also fully support that, because why should you? Why should we? You're the biggest corporations in the motorcycle industry in the world, and you're not getting it right. And we did get it right. So why should we bend over backwards now? Yeah. So I agree from both ways. Rob, why will Dorna not let KTM put another 2 bikes on the grid as Ducati have 8? So again, Rob, Jonathan Borg actually posted on MotoGP News a whole explanation around this, and we shared it on the Motor Rider World Facebook page. It's basically KTM want to bring in 2 more bikes as a factory entity. So they'll bring in 2 more bikes as Gas or Husqvarna, but it'll be as a factory entity. As I said, the 8 Ducatis on the grid, 4 of them, which is the Pramac 2 and the factory Ducati 2, are full factory bikes. Luca Marini's bikes also full factory, but I don't want to go there now and read the whole thing to you. Rob, do yourself a favor, go onto our Facebook page, and there's the whole explanation there. But basically, it's down to there's an amount limit, and in euros, and an amount limit to how many factory bikes you can have on the grid. So the only way KTM could potentially go around this, and I actually saw a rumor today, is that Aki Ayo, who runs the Moto3 and the Moto2 team for KTM, they apply to run a satellite independent MotoGP team, and then lease 2 bikes from KTM or Gas or Husqvarna. So they can't be in a kind of full factory capacity. It's got to be that way. So Repsol Honda can't have 4 factory Repsol Hondas. They've got 2 Repsol Hondas, but then they can support independent teams with factory support, as Ducati are doing. But as a factory entity, you can't have more than 2 bikes. So Ducati have got their 2 factory riders, but factory supported in other teams, but most of the teams lease the bikes. KTM have got 4 factory supported bikes, the 2 factory guys and the 2 gas guys, and then Yamaha only have the 2. So yeah, we could be here for days on that. Just go check out the post on Motor Rider World. It was last week sometime. I know we've done a lot of posts since then. Or go to MotoGP News, the Facebook page, and you'll see it posted up there. Nick Best, the question about the 2 races. We know that the touching the green is penalized, but what is the difference between the sprint and main race? Why 2 places in one race and 1 place in another? Nick, these are the kind of questions that should be answered by the people making them, the race stewards. Straight after the race, these are the questions that should be answered so we all have clarity. To be honest, I don't know. I did kind of briefly scroll through some comments answering this question. I'm sure a lot of people have answered it down the side here for you, but it's a very good question. Why Brad was penalized 1 spot in the 3 seconds in the sprint race and 1 spot. Well, it was 1 spot, I think, because Martin had exceeded track limits behind him. So if Brad had got a 3-second penalty, it's effectively 1 spot because Martin, also got a 3-second penalty. Whereas in the sprint race, it was 3 seconds because there was enough riders within that 3-second strike range, if you know what I mean. So the penalty would be a bit more harsher. So as far as I know, I could be wrong, but from my general perception, that's how I see it. Mark Entel, perhaps concessions should be given on manufacturer point standing, like if they aren't within a certain percentage of the leaders. Mark, I agree with that. I do agree with that, in particular with Honda and Yamaha, how dismal they are. The problem is Fabio's already had a podium. Mark's been on pole position and stuff. So, there's been glimpses that the bike's absolutely fine. I don't know. It's a tough one. Jonathan Borg, both Honda and Yamaha are not fully committed anymore. They sell mostly small bikes nowadays. So, I don't know. I think you've got an argument there with the point system in the championship, but again, that's the 2 biggest motorcycle companies in the world, getting extra lessons and extra support. Is it really justified? I don't know. Bradley Johnson, Ike Lackawanna, also a great job. Yeah, Ike Lackawanna, he was let down by mechanical troubles in the main race, and he looked like he was doing a fantastic job. I think Ike Lackawanna is going to be, is Jean-Pierre going to come back? This is the next big question. Does he want to come back? There's talks about him potentially taking the second Monster Energy Yamaha seat alongside Fabio Quartararo next year. I think it'll be a good fit for him. Certainly can't get any worse than it is for him at Yamaha. And at the moment, Yamaha, who else do they get? There's talk about Jake Dixon, brilliant ride in Moto2 at Assen on the weekend, won his first Moto2 race there. Yamaha don't have a massive pool of riders and to pick from. So going to be interesting to see who takes that ride. But certainly Jean-Pierre has come out and said, because of my health and my safety, I do not want to ride this Honda until it's sorted. When is it going to get sorted? I see they've kind of scrapped the Calyx chassis, and then they're focusing on their HRC built one, which I'm glad. They need to just find a direction, but the direction at Assen was backwards. It was terrible. It was shocking to see Marc Marquez ride like that. Listen, like I said, Taka Nakagami, there were a lot of positives there. Ike Lackawanna, there were a lot of positives. Stefan Bradl, there were a couple of positives. Honda just need to stop focusing on Marc Marquez. I think he is not the answer. Marc Marquez is not the answer for Honda, and they need to realize that and focus attention elsewhere. And Marc needs to get out of Honda as soon as he possibly can, whether that's, I heard a dream team move of him alongside his brother at Cressini Ducati. Could be possible. Why not? Anything is possible these days in MotoGP. We know DJ Antonio is pretty much out of that seat. Will Cressini take a Marc Marquez at literally no salary? Marc comes with, again, like Australia Galicia and other sponsors that bring money. Will they take him over Tony Arbolino to try and go for race wins and a potential championship? Why not? Aprilia, Maverick Vinales, not getting the job done. Do Aprilia do something there and get rid of Aleix or Maverick early to accommodate Mark. Does RNF get rid of Raul Fernandez, who's just been disgusting, for lack of another word, to make room for him? I don't know. The KTM kind of rumor is still there with Pedro Acosta and Marc Marquez in a IO factory supported team potentially, or a Husqvarna branded team, or two more Kate. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is going to be there. It's really a tough one to go through. We're just going to have to wait and see. Time will tell. Lawrence Lebaram, difficult to compete with 8 Ducatis sharing data. Pecco was all over the place on Friday and cursing the bike. Next thing, he's using Bezzecchi's setup and he's up there again. So Lawrence, this is it. Because Yamaha focused on Fabio and Honda focused on Mark, you kind of restricted yourself. Ducati have been brilliant, absolutely brilliant at this, letting as many people ride their motorbikes as possible. They let Alvaro Bautista ride it now, and they would have got information because he posted a really good time there. I really hope he does do a wild card ride sometime this year. But yeah, as you say, they can just pull information left, right, and center, all these different riding styles and different personalities, and they've got all this information. Honda's information is yay big. It's Marc Marquez. Yamaha is yay big with Fabio Quartararo. Ducati is yay big. It's just massive. They got Michele Pirro, their test rider, racing in the Oddworld Superbike race, the Italian Superbike race on Ducati, on Dunlop tires, on Michelin tires, on Pirelli tires, on production-based bikes, on full MotoGP bikes. So they've just got this barrel of information coming in left, right, and center. Yamaha have got a Fabio Quartararo who knows nothing else but a Yamaha in MotoGP, and a Marc Marquez who knows nothing else but a Honda in MotoGP. So, Ducati have just taken it like this, and Honda and Yamaha have, I don't even know if they've got worse, but they've just not progressed. And it's because they've got riders that know nothing else. Look what Jack Miller's brought to KTM this year. Look what he's brought. And KTM hiring all these different minds and stuff. Look what they've brought and what they've done. Honda and Yamaha are just like this, and it's not working for them. They need to change it. Merskach, don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, everybody, do not forget to hit the like button, please. Can you please explain the concessions? So Naki Junior. So concessions are basically you get extra testing time. As a manufacturer, you get concessions to go testing more. I think more wild cards, trying more engine and more modifications. You get all these extra things that you can try outside of race weekends to try and improve your package. So it's basically, in a nutshell, I mean, there's a much more technical and better way to explain it, but for us common people, that's probably the easiest way to explain it. The desperation is showing. I feel so sorry for Mark Mariska. It's there for everyone to see. It's terrible. I don't want to see a depressed I don't want to see a depressed person like that. I prefer Facebook. Stephen Berry. Hello all. Stephen is back. Yeah, it's a tough one. I need to get this integration from YouTube and Facebook going. I need to. It just costs money. And unfortunately, money is scarce in the South African motorcycle industry at the moment, and that's where we rely on money to fund Motor Rider World. So I'll get it one day. Stephen, maybe you can help me with it. I know you a bit techie like it. I agree, Rob. He is getting reckless lately. That's Mark Marquez. Mark Enter. Apparently, Japanese manufacturers have policies for only employing Japanese in senior positions. So don't look at European talent with knowledge. Also, they only recently came out of COVID regulation. So, Mark, it's true. You don't see a lot of Europeans, other than the hands-on guys, like Mark's mechanics are changing wheels and that kind of thing. The actual technicians, the actual minds behind the Yamaha and the Honda projects are all Japanese. And, they are very cultural. They stick to what they know. They stick to their ways and their roots. And I saw it with Darren. I've said it a couple of times. I saw it with Darren last year. They have their ways, and it's their way or no way. And it's they've got to change it. If that's their rules, that they only hire the Japanese management. They've got to look at it, because look what it's done for KTM. Look what it's done for KTM. That's the best kind of yardstick to see. KTM went and spent the money on Ducati mines, and look what where it's got them. They are they've got a competitive package. Still, you know, I don't even think it's KTM missing something. It's just that Ducati are so good. But for Brad Binder to be right up there in the sprint race and the main race at Assen on Sunday, okay, Jack the great weekend there. But KTM, you go into every race weekend now, not shocked by seeing KTM in the top five, or you don't go into a race weekend going, "Oh God, is Brad going to perform?" You kind of know there's going to be a good performance coming from an orange machine. So that's really good. Hi Rob and all and pink waving. Jason Harrington. Michael Ellett. I can see Raul being in the RNF lineup next year. Yeah, Michael, I can too. And why? I don't know, because he doesn't look motivated. I've said it a couple of times. He doesn't look fit enough. He just doesn't look like a MotoGP rider to me, Raul Fernandez. Jonathan Ball, Frankie is out from Yamaha and in Ducati for sure. First option is VR46, but that will happen only if Bez goes to Pramac. But he doesn't want to go to Pramac because he'll lose the people around him. Jonathan makes a good point there, kind of backing up what I said. Benzeki's in this perfect environment where he's got these familiar faces around him getting the job done. And Pramac are saying, well, we don't need your guys. We've got our very capable guys that have been with us for a long time and know the team end and end. So, yeah, it's going to be a touchy one. As Sven says, yeah, Bears to Ducati factory, seen that as well. He said it clearly he wants an official bike and stay where he is, but then Ducati will want to agree to that. So back to Morbidelli, the other option will be Grassini. Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see how that all plays out. Either way, as Jonathan says, I'm pretty sure we'll see Franco Morbidelli on a Ducati next year, whether it's in VR46 colors or Grassini colors. We'll have to wait and see. And then, what's going to happen with Bezzecchi? Will he just get the Marini kind of deal in VR46 where, does Marini now go back to an older bike and Bez gets the latest, greatest machinery in that VR46 team where he'll shine? Bezzecchi in a factory Ducati team, the factory Ducati team's hard. You don't get the same kind of, it's hard to judge Bastianini at the moment because of the way he started the season and the injuries and that. But the results will come for Bastianini, but he's certainly not as smiley and happy as you saw him with Grassini. So yeah, it's a tough environment, that factory Ducati, and I can understand Bezzecchi saying, "No, I want to stay where I am. I just want the Bagnaia package in VR46 colors." Whether Ducati will do that, I don't know. Luca won't get the sack. That Rossi family, Robert Swart. Well, Luca Marini came out and said Valentino said to him, if push comes to shove, I can't help you. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. I would also see it hard to push Marini out, being Rossi's kind of half brother. There would be a hard one. But hey, if there's better riders, there, you've got to. You can't miss out on them for family. It's going to be it's a tough decision to make. Arbolino will go in Grassini only if Morbidelli won't take that bike. If not, he will continue with Mark VDS in Moto2 for another year. Thank you for that, Jonathan Borg. Mark Entel, I'd like to see Zarco in Superbikes. So would I. Hendrik van der Merwe, Augusta is a better rider than his brother. My opinion, Augusto Fernandez, I think you're talking about. His brother is not Raul Fernandez, if that's what you're thinking, Hendrik. Arbolino should stay another year, methinks, in Moto2. Sven, I agree. Like I said, these Moto2 riders doing a fantastic job, but none of them, scream out the talent that kind of Mark was, Brad Binder and Oliveira. I don't think an Arbolino. I don't know. I don't know. It's a tricky one. Pedro Acosta has said he's going to MotoGP. He's not staying in Moto2, so he's going regardless. So yeah, let's see. Raul at RNF has a 2-year contract directly with Aprilia, same as all the other Aprilia riders. So that pretty much rules out any kind of movement in Aprilia for the next 2 years, it looks like. Hey guys, what did I miss? Oh man, no, you've missed a lot. Oh man, no. Stephen, yes, Rins is in contract with Yamaha and has a clause to break his current contract only if he can get a factory bike, but that would also be factory Honda. So that's interesting. I mean, Alex Rins potentially to um, factory Yamaha. Why not? He's sponsored by Monster Energy. Monster Energy sponsor the factory and Yamaha team. It's a factory bike. Alex Rins on a Yamaha, his riding style, I think could work. Another good option. Please tell me you've read the track limits rules and explained to the masses. Stephen, I have not, unfortunately. Um, yeah, I've been sitting in a van and planes for the last 4 or 5 days, traveling the world. I haven't had time to be honest. But I think I kind of explained it. This is an old comment, so I think I explained it from what I understand it at and a layman's point of view. So I don't know if that's right. Robert Swart, how sensitive are those sensors? Could the force, the bike passing, and vibration trigger it? That sprint race one looked dubious. Yeah, it is. It is. That's anything man-made, I kind of question, and those sensors are obviously man-made. And if a stone's flicked over it, does it trigger, or is it only a certain amount of pressure, or is it measured in width, or I don't know. Definitely, next time we get Simon Crayfar on, which hopefully can be in this next 5 week break. We'll definitely do a mid-season roundup. We'll get more clarity on the track limits and all of those. I think that's rather than me kind of giving you, subpar answers. We know the answers coming from Simon Crayfar will be on it. You know that. I mean, Acosta, yeah, Jonathan Jean Acosta was clearly on the green. What I don't know. Say it slowly. The track limits decisions were correct in MotoGP. Stephen, I agree with you. I do agree with you. There are rules. The rules are if you exceed the track limits, penalty. So I agree with you that the track limits and the way they handled it according to the rule book were correct. With the Martin 3 second penalty, with the Brad a demotion 1 place and 3 second, I get that. I'm just yeah, I don't know, the human element and the common sense element to me needs to come in there. Did he gain an advantage? No. Was it enough to have gained an advantage? No. I think it just needs to be relooked. It needs to be decided a little bit differently in my mind. But again, if the stewards came afterwards and showed full clarity and an open book on it all, we wouldn't have these questions and that. But because they just say nothing or showed nothing other than the replays that we all get to see. I mean, that one of Brad, it doesn't look like he crossed at all because the camera angle was you know, the camera angle showed that Brad did not cross the line. He did cross the line because when you went on the onboard, especially the main race one, you can see it just goes over. But the sprint one to me is still very dubious. The sprint one to me is still. I would like more clarity on how they 100% knew that sensor went off for the right reasons. The front view on Acosta, where you could see the line, doesn't show him touching the green paint, only the white line. I asked Simon Crayford on Twitter, and he confirmed white line is fine. So Stephen Berry there, again, the camera angle that I saw, he was over the white line and on the green. But again, if Race Direction just came out and showed us that or explained it more, then we'd be going, okay, understand. But they say nothing, and that's the frustrating part. Stewards gave him a penalty, but reversed it, saying he did serve his long lap. And I'm like, what the actual F, Nick Bester? Different penalties. Mariska, don't understand the different penalties. Well, I think I kind of explained them, Mariska, on the fact that they take into consideration the gap behind and how many riders are in with you, vice versa. I was sick, so I don't know what happened. Ati Herbs, hey Rob, say it as it is. Facts. It is, it's fact. As Stephen Berry said, the rule book's there. Brad came out and said, I made a mistake. I exceeded track limits. I must get the penalties. Even though he didn't feel like it, if the facts are there, then give the penalty. We want to see those facts, race stewards. Show us the facts that you use to get to the conclusion. The the kind of replays, like I said, more so for the sprint race, aren't evidence enough for me. I want to see. I want to see more. The main race, the camera shot that was on board with Alicia Spargo, you can see Brad straight lined it a bit more, and there was a bit more clarity there. But the sprint race, nothing. The Pedro Costa, I want to see more fact. I want more fact. Um, uh, yeah, I agree, Rob, that Acosta incident was blatant, total BS. Uh, Evening, Rob. How good was it to see the Aprilia and Yamaha up there mixing it with the front gunners? Thought Taka had a solid weekend as well to an extent. Yako does. Yako, yeah, I agree with you. It was great to see Yamaha and Aprilia up there, and that's what we want to see more often. So that's where my argument for the concessions, I would say, yes, let Honda and Yamaha have concessions so they can sort themselves out a bit quicker so we can have better racing at the front end. Fabio's problem is that, yeah, he was up there, but it was only because he got a good start, good qualifying and a good start. If he doesn't get good qualifying and good start, the main race happens. He gets stuck in the field, he can't pass, then he pushes to the limit and crashes out. So still, Yamaha can take a little bit of positivity from the podium, which was handed to them by Brad's color blindness. Still not enough answers there for me. This was a racetrack that Fabio's dominated in the past, or certainly been competing for race wins more often than not. So still no real answers there for Fabio, and he's hurt himself. He came out of that weekend looking, looking like a flat out hospital patient, arm, leg, so. And it's the same with the Honda riders. The Honda riders are just all over the place. That's why Takaka Nakagami, what he's doing is fantastic. So yeah, but anyway, Alicia Spargo, brilliant. The guy's one of the elder statesmen, and to be still flying the flag for Aprilia is brilliant uh, from his side. But in terms of Miguel Oliveira, yeah, still recovering from the injury, I know, but nothing coming from Miguel yet. Raul Fernandez has just been a huge, massive disappointment. He's just proved, as I said before, him and Remy Gardner have proved in a way that their Moto2 season was a fluke in many ways, because they just haven't been able to replicate any kind of form from that. If you look at the likes of Bezzecchi and Marini, came from Moto2 with nowhere near the same kind of domination that Raul and Remy showed in Moto2, and look where they've gone on to be, real good contenders in MotoGP, although Marini's, slightly slacking off a bit. But yeah, Aprilia have got problems with Maverick Vinales, sadly. Maverick is an Assen specialist, and he made nothing of the weekend. There were glimpses, one or two fast lap times here and that, but overall just nothing. And that childish Maverick Vinales seems to be rearing its head, which is a big worry. If I was Aprilia, it's a big worry. I would be saying to him, right, in this 5-week break, you're going to go see someone. You're going to go talk to someone, because we can't have this. Yeah, Darren Binder. Darren made it through turn one this time because he stuck to the inside. Good result for Darren. He just needed to finish the race. 14th. There was a lot going on in that Moto2 race, but I was just glad to see Darren finish. And he wasn't miles behind the leading pack, and he was ahead of some good names. So yeah, well done, Darren Binder. It's been a tough past couple of races on track and off, because he's been lambasted on social media again. A lot of people coming out and calling him out, rightfully so in many ways, because he hasn't proven what I know he can prove, and what he knows he can prove, and what we all know he can prove. But results speak for themselves, and he hasn't got that to back himself up. So that's what he just needs. He needs to just get results and performances under his belt, almost like a CV. He just needs to build that Moto2 CV up a little bit, so that we can just put all these people to bed on Facebook and social media that just don't believe in him. Yes, the results and the performances aren't there, but you can still believe in the guy, because there's a true talent there. It just needs to come out. Rogue Hutchinson, what happened to Mark Marcus? Rogue, go to bed. I'm sure your mom's going to tell you to go to bed now. Desperate. It's a desperate Marc Marquez, unfortunately, and it's terrible to see. Problem is, it depends how you look at the full tire. Contact patch upright or length would be different. Yeah, Sven, I can understand that, but if the width of the tire is what is the width of a MotoGP rear tire? 210 or 220 profile? I don't know. I think it's got to be the full profile. If that full profile of the tire, width of, not profile, sorry, the width of the tire. So whatever the width of the tire is, if it's, let's say it's 100 mil for argument's sake, the width of a MotoGP tire, 100 mil has to be on the green for it to be considered a penalty in my mind. Like, it's open for debate, and I know that's just my general thinking. But yeah, it just does seem so harsh to, at that level, to dismiss a podium that the rider has, in this case it was Brad Binder, but any rider has worked 30 laps, and for 30 laps Brad didn't make one mistake, and then he gets penalized, for a millimeter mistake on the final lap. It doesn't seem justice. It doesn't. But again, as Stephen Berry says, they all know the rules, and Brad says himself, we all know the rules. The rules are there. Don't do it. And I did it, and I made a stupid mistake. So, yeah, that's it. Yeah, Rogue, there, your mom's answered it for you. Now go to bed. Penalty. Yes, I can confirm that Alex Rins is talking with Yamaha, but doesn't look like it's done yet. Sure, most of these moves will be done by the time we arrive at Silverstone. Yeah, a lot of the moves do get confirmed now over the next 5-week break. So I saw pictures of Alex Rins who finally got to return from home after his operations, and that looks shame. I mean, he looked terrible. So I'm hoping he can come back from that, because it was a big one, and certainly lost a lot of strength in that, lying in a hospital bed. You can't train or anything. So yeah, let's see. Rob, have you got some guests lined up during the break? We need some excitement during the 5 weeks. Yes, I will. I certainly will. As I said, Simon Crayfar will I'm sure definitely be one. We'll get the Dave Petersons. I wanted to get Dave on for this one, but I've just been too busy, so I couldn't make contact. So yeah, I'll definitely try and get as many guests as I can to keep you as entertained as possible. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, let's hope Simon, maybe a MotoGP rider or two. Petrucci would be cool. I'm going to ask Daniele Petrucci, Stephen Berry, this weekend when I see him at Donington World Superbikes. I will say to him, we've done it before, Daniela, and I want to do it again. I still have your email address, so can we make it happen? So let's do it. At Rob, they were simple. What? At Rob, they were simple. Stephen Berry. What are you saying to me, Stephen? I don't understand that. And then he says, no. Let's have a look. Sprint, he touched 3 times, which is a long lap, but the third touch was on the second last lap, and penalty was given halfway through the round. So Brad couldn't serve it. Equals 3 seconds. Okay, so there's Stephen's. Okay, so Stephen, comment if I'm right here. So Brad got his track limit warning. And then on the last lap, touches it again, and then is told to serve a long lap penalty. But being the last lap, he can't serve a long lap penalty, so he gets a 3-second penalty. Whereas the main race, he didn't have any kind of track limits warnings or anything, but touched the green line, which means a 1-position penalty. Am I right in saying it like that, Stephen Berry? Comment and let me know if I finally got it right. No, Rob, Ducati don't want Mark on. Oh, my wife phoning me, sorry, from downstairs. That makes a lot of sense. No, Rob, Ducati don't want Mark on their bike. Forget the Cressini move. As long as they will run Ducatis. There were rumors KTM tried to give their bike in the case, but maybe it won't happen. Yeah, I kind of knew Ducati wouldn't give the bike, but it's just, it's all over the show at the moment. And I saw something with Marc Marquez on a Ducati alongside his brother at Cressini, and I kind of also dismissed it, but it was mentioned out there. So yeah, Jonathan, I agree with you. It's not going to happen. What gets me is everyone is all about Jack, 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 and yet he can't ride the bike. Also spend more time building sandcastles and trying to keep up with Brad than actually being up front. So Daryl, I agree with you, but there's no doubt that Jack has brought something, and his side of the garage have brought something to the project. Brad even said it in the one-on-one interview that we did. But again, nothing it should be taken away from Brad and his team, because what they've done, all the development that they've done, and the results they are getting cannot be overlooked. I said this is the year for Jack to kind of go trial and error, try something, and these crashes and stuff. You know, not a, not not only as a fan, but as a journalist, or whatever you want to, a pundit, or whatever you want to call me. um I'll give Jack this year, to come just trial and error. If you want to do this race, do it now, because 2024 we won both our KTMs challenging at the front week in, week out, not crashing as much as you are. So I'll give Jack this year. And we know that he's a phenomenal talent, and we know when he's on it, he's on it. But we also know that when he's not on it, he's not on it. And when he's not able to set the bike up, or match the lap times of Brad or other riders, he tends to crash. So yes, there are these chinks in the armor of Jack Miller that he needs to sort out. But I will give him this year. I will give him the grace of this year. But next year, we can't. Certainly, I'm sure KTM will say we can't have these, this inconsistency of performances, especially when Brad's right there. Naki Jr. Thanks, Rob. I think Brad has been riding so well. He really has. Brad being the only kind of non-Ducati up there. Okay, Alicia Spargo and Fabio were up there as well, but for Brad on that KTM to be up there, and the only thing that I could see watching from the TV, what I could see is that the Ducati's got that little bit of agility still over the KTM. So Brad, and we saw it with, he tucked the front in the sprint race, which forced him wide onto the green paint, which ultimately gave him the penalty. But that KTM looks like, it's very much put me on a line and I'll stay there. But like, don't change your mind or whatever. It's very one line. So Brad, can't just change his line when and how he wants. And compared to the Ducati, like Bagnaia, you just see Ducatis doing that. They can like just pick and choose their lines at the moment. The same with the Honda, market it's very one line minded. So that's where KTM are lacking a little bit from what I watched on TV, especially through the fast sections, going through that fast right hand and then flicking it into that left. The Ducatis could be a bit more versatile through there compared to Brad on the KTM. But I got the honor of watching Brad Binder around Assen last year, manhandling that KTM, and he really does. He puts absolutely everything into it. And seeing how drained he was, just sweat pouring off him after that main race on Sunday, just showed you how much effort the guy put in. And let me tell you, for this is the height of Brad Binder's sportsmanship and professionalism. He thinks he's on the podium. He's celebrating a podium. He looks and he sees that he's done it again. Last lap, penalty again, demoted off the podium. Many other of those other loads, just about all of them, probably would have seen that and smashed the screen and smashed the tank and rode into the pits and thrown the bike down and gone no, and like really made a big kind of spiel about it, just made a big fuss about it. Brad looks at it, gives a quick kind of like, don't even joke, keeps his cool, rides into the pits, gets to his team, climbs off the bike, hugs the team, pats on the back, sits down, no toys thrown out of the cot whatsoever. And that takes a lot, because we were all throwing our toys out the cot. I was going, blah, blah, blah. I didn't watch it live, unfortunately, but from my hotel room on Sunday night, I was watching it, and I was blah, blah, blah. So for Brad to keep his cool in that situation, and me as a motorcycle rider, to be honest, I would have probably come in and also thrown my toys out the cot at that level. For Brad to handle it the way he did, and afterwards to say sorry to his team, I can't believe I did it again. No, it's fantastic. It's amazing. It's what the guy is an absolute true professional. Keanu Hutchinson, hi Rob. Keanu boy, it's Uncle Rob for you. So Mariska, is Rogue the husband or the son? And is Keanu the son? Did I tell Rogue, is that the husband to go to bed? Or tell me about this. I keep forgetting there's so many Hutchinsons. I can't keep up. Rob, what is your favorite thing about Brad, Keanu Hutchinson? Keanu, I pretty much answered the question there for you. It's the professionalism. Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, I am fortunate enough to have grown up with Brad. I'm one a proud thing that I do display on my CV is that I was Brad's riding coach for a year in South Africa. I helped him with a lot of his PR when he was unknown to South Africa and the world of motorcycle racing. Really, when no one was really kind of showing him any support, Corin Landy was handling his sponsorships and his social media and his PR and everything, and I was helping her with all the graphics. We got him a Superga sponsorship where they sponsored him shoes. I would do all of his post race press releases and any kind of sponsorship CVs or anything that needed to be drawn up. Myself and Corin Landy would do it. I'm also very proud that when you go into Red Bull Rookies Cup, you need a professional rider to sign you in as this kid's a capable rider. I did that for Brad Binder. I did it for a couple of other Red Bull Rookies riders as well. So very, very proud of that. But yeah, just to see how Brad's kind of handled his career to date, the professionalism he shows, the teamwork, the work ethic that he shows, is the commitment, the loyalty, to while we were all saying, and me as well saying, leave KTM, go. Brad stuck it out, and there's getting it's. Yeah, there's so many things I love about Brad. I love, as Stephen Berry says, how he rides the bike and how sideways he goes, which I'd like to think I taught him a little bit of that, because that was the way that I like to ride, that I used to race my bikes. So yeah, there's a lot of things, and very proud to be part of it all. Really, really, I'm just so proud to be part of it all. And Kiana Hutchinson, sorry, mom, go to bed now, Kiana. I've been telling Rogue Hutchinson to go to bed. Meanwhile, it's Kiana that needs to go to bed. Mine's his mannerisms, proper reg groot gemaak man. Chris Hart, I agree with you. He's just, look, the Binders are just an amazing family, a good old school South African family, good morals, good respect, treat others the way you want to be respected, work ethic, work harder, and that's how you're going to get somewhere. Yes, they've had the financial backing to get where they are, but it doesn't mean that they didn't get there because of the money. They got there through hard work, dedication, sacrifice. We all know the story. I don't have to go on it about it for days and days and days. But yeah, good question, Kiana, and I hope I answered that for you. I know Brad will do good again. He will, Keanu. Our Brad's going to win it. Our Brad is going to win it. Rob, reading comments, taking the check back 30 minutes ago. Yes, Stephen, sorry, I'm like trying to keep up here. Yeah, yep, Rob, that was a very old comment. Okay, let me just go all the way. Let me scroll all the way down here and catch up a little bit. Yeah, Rob, regarding the error on the KTM, especially the little rear wing, do you think that Adrian Newby and F1 team helped with this, since they did ask them for assistance? So, Jean, I can honestly tell you that spoke to a mate of mine who lives in East London, and he actually saw Adrian Newby there not so long ago, because I didn't know this, but apparently he's South African and he's from East London, and got into a conversation with him, and he said, yeah, we have done a lot of design and development with it, the F1 team. We currently have a KTM MotoGP bike there. So it seems like it's been a very impactful kind of relationship, the Red Bull Formula One team. So whether that was Adrian Newey himself, or kind of a sub department or a side department, I don't know. But yeah, from what I've been told, they've definitely had a lot of input in there. So yeah, let's see. Okay, Mariska, mom, Wayne, dad, Rogue, first son, Keanu, second son. Okay, so I was telling the two sons to go. So Okay, thank you for that, Mariska. Stephen Bay, Rob will read this 30 in 30 minutes, but the binders are so professional, like he says, and it was great to see Darren getting a race in. Only 14th, but after injury, just missing 2 races, then getting taken out in 2. He needed to do laps, and a full race will help so much. Yeah, I have now caught up. Landy, will there be another Checkers ad with Brad? I'm pretty sure. I've seen they've just done an activation where if you buy cans of Red Bull from participating Checkers stores, you can win a trip to a MotoGP race. So yeah, if I was in South Africa, I would be buying as many Red Bull cans as I possibly could to get that trip. It's great. It's great what they're doing. Like I said, it's brilliant. I'm enjoying it. I just wish some of that money would maybe go back into the sport of motorcycle racing in South Africa to fund the series, because yeah, it's great that we doing all these things with young and up and coming riders, but if they've got nowhere to race, then what? I know, Brad and Darren are back home in South Africa for a little bit of time to enjoy the break. I think Brad's going to have his bachelor's party, so let's hope he makes it out of that alive. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll be doing a couple of more checkers activations there, Rob. It is school holidays. Apparently, I am uh, Qatar. What does that mean? Okay, so I don't know it was school holidays. I'm not allowed to tell them to go to school. Okay, so it's school holidays. Okay, boys, so you can stay up and listen to Uncle Rob talk a lot of nonsense, and Stephen Berry and Sven Grun and your mom and Jonathan Borg just kind of dismiss what I say or just correct me. So yeah, thanks for joining, boys, and enjoy the time off. Brad's performance on the soft tire was brilliant over race distance, a first for him, I think. Bradley agreed. I was surprised when I kind of saw that. I was like, oh, geez, that Brad choosing a soft tire when everyone else did, and he managed it perfectly. Kind of did a Bruno almost, except for the Ducatis and obviously his color blindness. But he did very well too. You could see he was running out of steam the last couple of laps. There was no doubt about it. Although he did close that gap to Bezzecchi right at the end. So brilliant. Listen, uh, Brad and KTM and Jack and KTM have ticked a lot of those things that they couldn't do last year. And, again, I mentioned it in the interview that I did with him. There were these check boxes that you can't ride a KTM on a soft tire. You can't do a fast lap on a KTM. You can't do this on a KTM. All those boxes are slowly being rubbed out, and the opposite. So they've done a fantastic job. I really hope they can come back after the break and just still be competitive. Brad, unfortunately, has lost a little bit of momentum in the championship, but as Stephen Berry said, and as he corrected me last week, with the sprint races there's a lot more points up for grabs. So, don't count him out yet. But if Brad can finish top 3 in the championship this year, which is realistic, it really, really is. Nothing against Bezzecchi or Martin or Bagnaia. To me, Brad is still okay. Pecco is still the man to beat, but Brad is a better rider for me compared to those guys. Martin is starting to show a little bit of maturity, which is fantastic. Consistency. He didn't quite have the pace at Assen this weekend, but instead of throwing it into the wall, he finished the races and got points. Okay, made a mistake on the last lap in the main race, but luckily didn't get harmed by that. So yeah, I've been very, very impressed with Martin. I think he's going to be the biggest thorn in the side of Bagnaia. Bezzecchi as well, can't count Bezzecchi out. But yeah, if Brad can finish top 3 in the championship, that'll be brilliant. Listen, if he finishes 4th, it'll still be brilliant. Top 5 will be fantastic, but I think the top 3 is there for the taking. Pecco's just starting to see a little bit of daylight, but again, we've seen weird and wonderful things in MotoGP. Sven Good, realistically, 2024 can be KTM's championship challenging year. I agree with you, Sven. And I know from the inside that the talk was, it very much depended on this year whether Brad was going to stay with KTM or not. If KTM proved that they had a good package ready for a title challenge in 2024, Brad was going to stay. And I'm pretty sure KTM have done enough now for Brad to look at that and go, there's something here. There's something here. Whether they can carry that into 2024, we have to still wait and see. They could drop by the wayside. I don't think so, but they could. Are Ducati going to take it to another level and just make the gap even bigger? Are Honda and Yamaha going to sort themselves up? Are Aprilia going to get better? Where's Mark going to go? there's so many question marks heading into 2024, and we're only halfway through 2023. So yeah, it's going to be exciting next year. Sven Grun, they need this year to just find that 0.1%. That's exactly what it is. And if regular watchers will know that I've said religiously that MotoGP is about the fine margins. It's about tiny, tiny, tiny little things, millimeters, tiny percentages. It's tiny, tiny, tiny little things. And KTM are just that 0.1% that Sven's mentioned. Yeah, that's all they're off. That is literally all they are off. And I'm sure they'll find it and keep it going. Ducati 2022 versus 2023 bike seems similar in performance. How much has Ducati really developed for 2023, or is Bez just so much better? So Jaco, it's a very good question, because Pecco certainly has proved in many ways that the GP23 has got something extra. And Bezzecchi has proved what an amazing package the 2022 is. Bezzecchi biggest advantage is that they've got so much data on that 2022 that for all the tracks, for everything, that he's just climbing on a championship winning package week in, week out, while the Peccos and that are still fine tweaking or developing the 2023 in many ways. But again, it doesn't seem to be massive differences, because as someone commented earlier, Pecco Bagnaia, and we've seen it a couple of times this year, on the Friday and Saturday looks lost in many ways, and then all of a sudden finds a setup and goes fast. And it's because they're pulling data from Bezzecchi. So if Bezzecchi or Marini are going fast, they can pull that data and compare it to Pecco's, and Pecco can go, oh, okay, right, let's change this. Whereas who do Yamaha compare their data to? Fabio's not going anywhere. They can't use Franco Morbidelli's data because it's just as useless. So how do they improve? And Honda as well. What data do they take? Nakagami, who's their most consistent rider and doing a brilliant job, but the guy's finishing 8th or 9th. So, you need the top 3 kind of data to really improve your package. And Yamaha and Honda don't have that, and Aprilia don't have that to an extent. Whose data are they taking? They're taking an inconsistent Maverick, an inconsistent Oliveira, a very inconsistent Raul Fernandez, and a kind of consistent Aleix Espargaro, but who's aging and shouldn't be your poster boy when you've got Maverick Vinales and Miguel Oliveira. I still think things will turn around and Oliveira will become a key player for Aprilia, but it's got to happen sooner rather than later. So yeah, let's see. It's all about those fine margins in MotoGP at the moment. Did you hear what Bez had to say about Brad after the sprint race? He is an animal. They all respect him more and more. They do. Brad's got massive. When I've walked in the paddock, every single rider kind of, you can see the respect there for Brad. Team management, like I said, if Gigi Dell'Igna's walking and Brad's there, he'll stop and have a conversation with him. They all are very invested in Brad because he is a massive, massive talent. I've said it time and time again. Top 3 respected, talented riders in that paddock. There's no doubt about it. I've fought the fight for Marc Marquez. It's dropping down that table because it's just not getting the job done. And you can complain about the bike all you want, but you're not developing it. You're not making it any better. And if you're not kind of performing, you're crashing and you're making these silly mistakes. Marc Marquez needs to do what Taka Nakagami is doing, because and 90% Marc Marquez can finish 5th, 6th, or 7th. Just you've got to finish races, and you can't finish them like you did in the sprint race, where Marc Marquez just wasn't there at Assen. It was a wasted exercise bringing Marc Marquez there, because from the word go, he was not there. He was injured. He was battered and bruised from 2 weekends of absolute hell. He shouldn't have been there. They should have taken their weekend off, given themselves another week to fully recover for Silverstone. 6 weeks of mentally, physically recovering, analyzing data, looking at options of what they could do. They went to Assen and just pounded Mark's head into the ground even more, which was a completely ridiculous exercise. And this is bad management, I think, again, from Alberto Puig. I don't think Puig is the man to be there. I think management-wise, he's proved that he's not getting it right. So let's see. Stephen, I did. I watched the wrap up video, and Miguel Oliveira. I watch a lot of those things, and I saw a lot of comments from Miguel, like, I'm just riding around, I'm trying not to crash, I'm so scared, and this and this, and that RNF, that RNF. I said it last year. It's great that you signed Miguel Oliveira. Made a big mistake with Ralph Fernandez in my mind. Darren, although I don't know if I want Darren in that team, to be honest. But yeah, it's fantastic that Miguel's going there. But can the team provide the resources and the package that Miguel needs? And I don't think they can. They didn't last year with Dovizioso and Darren. They didn't the year before with Valentino Rossi and Franco Morbidelli. RNF need to look in the mirror and say, are we good enough? I'm glad they're there because they're 2 bikes on the grid, but are they good enough? Do they need to maybe relook within the network and find new members, because they're just not getting it right. They're just not getting it right. Ruan Detlef, DG also DNF, reckon he's gone. Wonder if Fernandez is like to get chopped too. So Ruan, as Jonathan Borg said, Fernandez is on a 2-year contract, so he will most likely stay there. Digi is definitely gone. Digi Antonio is definitely out of MotoGP. I can see him going to either factory World Superbike Ducati or one of the satellite Ducati teams. There's big talk about Mark VDS putting a World Superbike Ducati team in there with Alex Lowe's and Sam Lowe's potentially. There's talk of the one Ducati team at the moment, that the Moto Corsa team putting 2 bikes out, which will make another rider available. Petrucci, will he stay? Well, there's so many things. There's so many things going on in the world of MotoGP and World Superbikes. This weekend at World Superbikes, stay tuned to the Motor Rider World Facebook page and our YouTube channel. I'll be doing a paddock walk through the paddock tomorrow, showing you the bikes, showing you a bit of the paddock, a bit of the pits, whatever I can. I'll be putting that out. Friday, I'll also be there. Also the interview with Bautista, look out for that, but I can only publish that after the race weekend. So Monday, I'll put that interview out for you all to enjoy. It's Stephen Berry, Iannone in World Superbikes. I would love to see that. These are all the kind of questions I'll ask. I'll get rider debriefs. So I'll just get as much information as I can from the World Superbike paddock. Top Rack obviously going to BMW. In the riders debriefs, it's not really the place to ask those kind of questions after free practice, and that you really want to kind of find out what's happening that weekend and that race weekend and on track and stuff. So stay tuned. I'll bring you as much of the World Superbike content as I possibly can from Donington Park this weekend. Hopefully can get a few more answers for you guys there. As for MotoGP, we'll get as many guests as we can. Simon Crayford definitely being one of them. There'll be some real good insight and content in the 5-week break. And then, as Stephen said, hopefully a couple of riders, Petrucci. We just heard from Brad, and that I really want them to go and enjoy the 5-week break. We'll catch up with him later. Jack Miller, hopefully, maybe Brad can put in a word there for us. I'm sure Jack would be willing to take a night out. So anyway, I will try my utmost, but juggling the full-time stuff that I do with Zero Motorcycles and here in the UK and Motor Rider World, I won't lie, it's a little bit challenging. My brother and the team from Beam Productions are doing a fantastic job in South Africa to get the content and everything ready. That's why you'll see the digital mag is a little bit delayed, because I haven't had the time to sit down and put all that together. I'll hopefully be doing that this weekend to put that out. And then we got some great video content going out on both Facebook and YouTube. Bike test rides, talking MotoGP, World Superbike stuff, product reviews, showcasing products from Bike Kings. And so just, please, whoever you see us putting out on Facebook are the ones supporting us and the ones funding the bills, the Bike Kings, the Dunlops, the Yamahas, the Indians, in this case, KTM are a good supporter of ours. Whoever you don't see, do not like them, because they, for some reason, are refusing to support us. Anyway, we'll try and just keep you as entertained as we possibly can. So again, thank you so much for all tuning in. I really appreciate all the comments, all the back and forth, all the correcting in terms of Stephen Berry and Jonathan Borg and everyone else. We've all really become proper MotoGP journalists, and I absolutely love it. We've got our own little network going with South Africa and abroad. We get a lot of international subscribers and viewers. So really appreciate it. Mariska and the entire Mariska Hutchinson family, thank you so much for tuning in, and the boys, the Mike Teals and your grandson, thank you for joining in. Enjoy the rest of your week and weekend, and as I said, stay tuned for the World Superbike stuff, and then stay tuned I'll be posting up the Simon Crayfar and whoever else I can get in the near future. I'm starving, I'm thirsty, I'm tired. I'm going away for the weekend again, to the dismay of my beautiful family, who I've literally seen 2 nights in the last week. So I'm going to go downstairs, spend a little bit of time with them, read them some stories, eat some food, and get ready for World Superbikes this weekend. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Stay safe, and we'll chat to you soon.